Welcome to our first Lunch with Launch all about YouTube advertising. We're talking today with Joe from Bull and Will Films. Oh, that was poor. Welcome, Joe. Becky from Launch Online and myself from Launch Online. We are paid media experts. Joe, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, can do. Yeah, so I'm Joe. I run Bull and Will Film Co. So we're kind of a social-first, social-ready video production company who specialize in making content to make you stand out online.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. So today we are going to talk everything about how to make the most from your YouTube advertising. The idea, guys, is that we're going to make this a bit of a series, but today is the introduction of why YouTube ads are taking the world by storm. Are you late to the party? What traction can you get? What results can you expect? And what the practical aspects, questions we're going to answer, like what is the ideal length of a YouTube video? So let's get things kicked off by first of all explaining, and Becky, if you could do this for us, what are YouTube ads?
So YouTube ads simply are those adverts you see. So when you go onto the YouTube platform, you're off to watch, I don't know, a workout video. They're the ads that show either at the beginning, they might be in the middle of the video or at the end of the video. And they can be, you know, those non-skippable ads where you're forced to watch them, those 6-second bumper ads. Or they can be those skippable ads that you can skip after 5 seconds. So they're the ads, essentially, they're the YouTube ads that you're seeing. So yeah.
Awesome. That's a great explanation. Joe, when people come to you and ask about YouTube advertising, what's kind of your first explanation of what you can do to promote their company on YouTube?
Yeah, so I think when people first come to us, it's a case of usually it's us talking to them about through their whole wherever their videos are going, because we think every platform kind of is slightly different. But YouTube is quite unique, I think, because obviously you've got that 5-second skip at the start for most people. You know, they're keen to get to their video. So it's really important that we talk to them about how they think that first 5 seconds can really pop, so that people don't skip, watch the whole advert. And really, YouTube has quite a lot of potential, I think, because it's got a lot. It's a captive audience. People aren't scrolling through in the same way they are on Facebook or Instagram, for example. They're there to watch a video they've clicked on, and you've got that time beforehand to grab their attention or during the video. So, when people come to us, I think it's about finding out who they're targeting first of all. Because for us, it's just as important as for you guys, really. Who are they targeting is going to have a big impact on sort of the style of the video, the tone of the video, the pace. And then it's kind of bringing it all together, because as you guys know, there's a few different elements to getting a YouTube video right, and it's kind of going through them and seeing how we can tick each of those off.
I mean, that is the crucial thing, isn't it? With all marketing, is who is your audience? And what we've been seeing, especially since the beginning part of lockdown, is how YouTube has really grown as a platform across all different ages of audiences, not just the typical younger children watching gaming streams, or it's now across a wide section of audience. Everybody kind of Googling how to do home haircuts, or tile their bathroom when they couldn't have people come to the house. It definitely, the stats back up that it is a big broad section. And I think, is it Becky? I think it's like 95% is sound on, and that's why it's a more engaged audience.
Yeah. You should always, your YouTube ads, it's 95% a watch with their sound on. So when you're doing your YouTube ads, it's all about the sound. Yeah.
And again, the big comparison there to Facebook, where it's 82% sound off. So you have a lot more. I think if you can use sound, there's a lot more you can use to grab people's attention with sound than perhaps without any audio.
I think one of the big benefits that I've seen with YouTube is also when you're uploading the videos, before you've even got to the point where you're starting to advertise, when you're uploading the videos, the YouTube Creator Studio's got so much better. You can have text overlays so that you've got subtitles that are easy to put on. And that can actually have an organic impact on how far your YouTube video goes. Because if you optimize those titles and descriptions, I mean, Becky, I think we we uploaded a video that did about how you could understand what organic traction you were getting from Google Shopping listings. And within like 3 days, because we'd written a really good title and description, we were getting comments on that and people were watching it on the other side of the world.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think jumping on it now is great because there's not many people utilizing it at the moment. So really, if you can optimize your ad, get your meta descriptions done, it has a huge impact on the reach of your organic videos.
So so that's probably one that we should do in the future, would be kind of how to make the most organically from your YouTube videos. But today we're going to be talking mainly about advertising. So Becky, this is a question for you. Who would suit a YouTube ad campaign? What clients have you worked with? Does it work for all types of clients?
Well, this is the great thing about YouTube, is that their audiences are amazing. So you've got lots of different types of audiences, and the type of audience you might go after will depend on your objectives. So for example, you have custom intent audience or intent audience, and they are people that have an intention to maybe buy something. So for example, Google will know if someone's perhaps about to purchase a holiday or about to maybe buy a car. You've also got affinity audiences, and they're people that are just interested in things. And you've also got life events. So Google will know someone that might be about to get married. So if you look at your video and go, what do I want to achieve? Is it brand awareness? Is it kind of people getting interested in my product? Is it action? Depending on those objectives will then depend on the audiences you can go after. So if it's, say, action, you want people to convert, you want them to go to your website, take an action, you want to go for those people lower down the funnel, and that's the custom intent people, the people that have an intention to buy something. And then you've got that middle funnel, which is, people that are interested. So let's say I'm going to do paddleboarding because I'm obsessed with paddleboarding. People that have started to get into paddleboarding. You have the affinity groups of people that are starting to research, look into paddleboarding. And then you've got the top level funnel, which is, that brand awareness piece. And you can do just simple demographics for those. And so there's just so many different options that I'd say majority of interest can get onto YouTube, because there's just it's Google, it's massive, such big audiences. I don't think there's an exception really. It's amazing.
I mean, that entry point for advertisers, so that entry point of the fact that you can bid on what people are searching for in Google search, I think is the most powerful thing that has come to YouTube ads in the last couple of years. So if you're in a super competitive industry, like, I don't know, Cornwall holidays, and bidding on Cornwall holidays in Google search can be quite expensive. People aren't very clear. They're not telling you whether they're looking for a hotel, whether they're looking for a resort. And at that point, to bid on all of those people searching for Cornwall holidays with a search ad can be quite expensive. Whereas if you're bidding on that within YouTube, not only is your targeting really spot on, but the creative you can show them is so much more powerful. I mean, Joe, when people come to you and they're saying, what length of video should I do? What kind of content should I put on there? Let's say we use a Cornwall holidays as an example. What would you serve up?
Yeah, so I think it depends. So first of all, and as you guys know, there's kind of different lengths in terms of what you're targeting at YouTube. Because you've got 6-second bumper ads, you've got ads over kind of 30 seconds for everything else. But so obviously the 6-second one is kind of very, very short and snappy. You've not got a lot of time in there. So you've kind of got to introduce your brand, introduce what you're selling, and have a call to action all in 6 seconds, which is quite fast paced. So really that's just about kind of bombarding people with as much information as you can in a way that is engaging and interesting. But I think when you've got, and I see it a lot actually, a lot of ads, for everything else is over that kind of 30-second mark. I see everything going from 30 seconds to being 3 or 4 minutes actually on YouTube as ads. Some people, doing really long, kind of very informative pieces that kind of like little mini thought leadership pieces that they're then hoping will convert people, especially on things you see around like, people that are trying to sell, online courses and stuff seem to have essentially like a mini course in an advert. But I think for everyone else, for Cornwall holidays, for example, 30 seconds, like I said, you got the first 5 seconds, you kind of got to really bombard people with information, show off, if you've got, let's say, let's say your resort, you kind of want some of that dreamy imagery of what Cornwall is like, what your resort is like. Have your logo, some kind of, something that's showing your brand off at the end of that first 5 seconds. So, even if people skip, it's in the back of their mind, they've seen it. And then after that, really, it's just about creating that emotion, trying to tie people in. So, we've done stuff for Cornwall holidays before. It's kind of, often it's about kind of the Cornish lifestyle. Why do people come here? Surfing, the sun, the beautiful beaches, the food, the drink. It could be a kind of whole host of all of those things, then with a nice sort of call to action at the end, which of course is really important. But the other thing I say about YouTube, which I'd say for a lot of sort of social advertising, of course, is kind of ad fatigue. Actually, you can drill down into some of the different unique selling points of your resort that might actually have slightly different audiences as well. So we could target people that perhaps your resort that's got different levels of you've got kind of caravans at one end and you've got luxury lodges at the other. But actually, we can create videos that target those different audiences. They might have a slightly different look and a slightly different feel. They all tie into the brand, but they're all there to be much more specific. You can really kind of tailor it to the audience that you want. And I think that's the really great thing about YouTube, like you say, is because you've got all those targeting options, you can be really, really clever with how you use the videos to really target individual groups of people.
Yeah, we did an example over the January period for holidays across the UK, actually, and the client did clips of different kind of interests. You had dog-friendly holidays, you had the kid-friendly holiday, romantic holidays, and it was the same, brand layout, the same format, but just clipped slightly differently per interest. And it worked really well. We were showing, the dog-friendly one to the people that had the dog interest, you had the couple interest, and then it just worked really well. Just having just those different type interest groups, it works really, really, really well.
Always traditionally, Facebook and Instagram have been seen as this like uber targeting of interests, or what people are, what people look like they're interested in or a market for. But I think that over the last couple of years, Google have really overtaken that by the fact that you've got Google search powering this. You could, exactly as you say, Joe, you could have somebody, who's interested, who's searching for dog-friendly holidays or is searching for products to do with dogs, and then show them dog-friendly holidays in Cornwall, images of dogs running across open beaches, etc. So that targeting is super powerful. Those first 5 seconds are crucial, aren't they? What are the top tips, Becky? You talk about logos as well, don't you?
Yeah, so Google say you have this framework and it's called ABCD, and it's attract is the first instance. So it's that first 5 seconds. They say in that first 5 seconds, have like a couple of frames, make it really fast paced, get their attention, and also introduce your brand in that first 5 seconds as well. So your logo, your colors, make you instantly recognizable as a brand. And that's that first 5 seconds is really, really, really important. And then, so it's ABCD, so attract, brand, then connect with your audience. So, connect them through emotion, keep wanting them to watch more. And that's when the frames come in, and Joe will know about this, but switch frames, keep them interested, keep it that fast paced. And at the end, I see loads of ads where they haven't made it clear what you want them to do. So you get towards the end of the ad, like, what is it you want them to do? Do you want them to go to the website? Do you want them to go to your YouTube channel? What is it you want them to do? So you've got to have that kind of direction at the end. So ABCD is attract, brand, connect, direct.
And Jay, I was going to say about that first 5 seconds, I think that is really like a good example. I always think is recently, if you ever look at movie trailers, not that there's been so many recently, obviously in the last year because no one's releasing movies, but especially on Facebook and things, there's like a trailer to the trailer where in the first 5 seconds, because you're scrolling, they show you who the main characters are. It's really fast, and then it will have the title, and then it will actually launch into the full trailer. That's a perfect example of them doing that, because they're trying to grab your attention to keep you watching the full thing. So they need to tell you in that first 5 seconds what this movie is about, and then you're like, oh, there's a new Spider-Man, it's the next Avengers, whatever. You watch the rest of the movie. Movie trailer.
No question that there are certain kind of tips and tricks that work well. They work well for YouTube, but they work well across any of the video advertising platforms. So this idea that the story arc, you start at this peak, you start with high interest, high amount of action, and then you move more into what you're trying to get across, with then that peak again at the end to get them, with a clear call to action. The other thing I'd say is that we've got this scenario where people are watching YouTube, consuming YouTube on all kinds of different devices. Do you have like a mobile first approach? How do you optimize for all these different sizes of ads?
Yeah, so I think we always talk about what we call screen real estate, I guess, when it comes to making videos. So, particularly when it comes to online, most people, YouTube perhaps being not an exception, because lots of people still use YouTube on the mobile, but a lot of people probably will use YouTube on desktop more than they might Facebook or Instagram. But of course, most people hold their phone vertically. So, if you're, especially on Facebook, I know this is slightly diverging from YouTube, but if you're scrolling through, you've only got so much time and space to grab someone's attention. So if you make a video that's square, or it's vertical, or 4x5, which is sort of between the two, you have much more room on the screen there, where the only thing that's going to be on the screen while they're scrolling through is your ad. So it gives you that much more space to kind of blast those visuals at them that will get them kind of interested and continue to watch or click through. With YouTube, I think, I've seen some examples where perhaps the targeting isn't right, and I see vertical YouTube ads on desktop YouTube, and obviously that's where they're not being quite so sensible, and someone's not done it quite right. And obviously, I think that does lose some of it loses some of that, the sort of the video being powerful, I guess, loses some of that sense of power. So, we can make vertical videos. It can be the same content. It's just about formatting it in the right way, I think. YouTube, obviously, primarily.
Do you shoot with two cameras then, so you can get the different sizing?
So it depends. So we can shoot with two cameras, or we just usually, often as well, we've got like 6K cameras. We shoot in a higher resolution, which means we've got more space to punch in. So we're always framing our shots really based on different deliverables we might need. So often, if it's vertical, it's going to end up looking like a tighter shot, because it is going to be punched in if you haven't got all that kind of space at the side. And obviously, when it comes to things like text and animation, we've got to restack it so that it works better in a vertical point of view. But yeah, sometimes it can be, we've done stuff before, it's only vertical, then we're shooting with the cameras horizontal, for example, maximize the quality, maximize everything.
What we've seen is where Google will be talking about what is working well on YouTube versus kind of normal television style advertising, is where you really crop in on those faces, because you're having to show on such a small screen. I think it was an example of a TV ad where they to make it optimized for YouTube, you just really, really have a close shot of a face. And people have all, shots of people always work well, don't they, Becky?
Yes. I do lots of the social advertising, and shots of people versus anything else always do so much better. I think it's something to do with psychology. We just interact with faces much better. So yeah.
And that comes back to story, doesn't it? It's about having, Jay, it's about having an engaging story, isn't it? And if your brand has a story, the person could be you, it could be your customers. That's much more interesting than just having graphics on the screen or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about a user journey, if we keep using this Cornwall holiday example, you have somebody going to Google search. The process to book a holiday is a long step process normally. An average of 534 searches, I think Google did a study on once. So if you imagine, you can't show up for all 534 searches. Somebody goes to Google, searches Cornwall holiday, they get a whole load of ads, a whole load of organic listings, probably some map listings. Let's say you're lucky enough to get them to your website. Using remarketing, you can leave a cookie on their computer and then target YouTube advertising for them that helps to really kind of build that story that you're talking about. What is it that your resort or what is it that your hotel is going to offer to this person who is in market for a Cornwall holiday, because that's what they're searching for in Google. And then it starts to build that brand awareness. It starts to communicate way better than a text ad could ever do about why they should book your holiday. And that's the power of it. I mean, what results can they expect, Becky? What results do you see?
So I think with this, it comes back to, before YouTube advertising, what do you want to achieve from it? Because depending on what you want to achieve will depend on how long your video is, because there's different types of YouTube ads depending on your objective. So let's say, for example, I am a holiday client and my main objective is to get people to purchase holidays. I'm going to want something, it's called True View for Action. And it's getting the user to take an action in the video. and they tend to be 30 seconds long, and you only get, well, there's two things. You can do TrueView for TrueView, and you get only charged for 30 seconds, so which is really good. And it's a really great way of creating awareness around that product. And then you can do that for a few weeks. And then what you can do is do TrueView for action. That's based on you bid on like cost per purchase. And it's just really, really good. And I reckon even last year, YouTube was seen as a brand awareness platform. People didn't really think of it as a platform to get conversions from. But I think it has really, really changed, especially if you do that kind of two-tonged approach. You do that awareness campaign at the beginning, and then you bring them down the funnel and you do those TrueView for action campaigns and get them to take an action. And we've seen some really, really great results. And I was actually surprised myself, to be honest, because I was used to be in that mindset of YouTube is about awareness, it's not about driving conversions, but actually it is. And YouTube has got so good at driving those actions. And we've seen very recently of 8 to 1. It's been really, really good. So
but the idea is that the buzzword is omni-channel. The fact that you've got one customer who's on multiple platforms, and you can help influence that purchase. And even if you're just increasing conversion rates or awareness slightly, it's all moving towards that kind of end goal of increasing conversions. So from the kind of ecosystem, you've got a way of finding people who are searching for your product, but you've also got a way of people who already have come to your website. You can then feed them new products that you're launching or new awareness. It's the idea of seeing it as part of your mix, isn't it, really?
Yeah, and you can do such great things with YouTube with different ad sequencing. So let's say, for example, in holidays, I can target people with this 30-second skippable in-stream ad, for example, with the affinity audiences. So just show them to people generally interested in maybe staycations. Then a few weeks later, start targeting like the more people with slightly more intent, and then funnel it right down, and it could just do so well. So you can have lots of different, and we'll come on to this in a minute, probably the different length of YouTube videos, but you can just have several different lengths and do some different ad sequencing. So someone could get shown that 30-second skippable in stream, then the next video they watch on YouTube, they'll get shown a 6-second bumper ad that was unskippable. And by doing these different things, you're just taking them down that YouTube funnel. It's really, really interesting, actually, really interesting.
Yeah.
I think
sorry,
go on, Joe. Go on, Joe.
No, I was going to say, that comes back to what we say is actually each step to that funnel, you can have a slightly different, different lengths, but actually they can be slightly different content. And it's, you've got that very generic one at the top where you're just reaching out to anyone. And like you say, you could, by the time you get on the bottom, here's a dog friendly holiday. We've got dog friendly, so you can be really clever with that. And from a filming point of view and from making a video point of view, it's not, we can film all that content, and it's then about, you're breaking it into smaller chunks and slightly different bits. So it's not that it's a bit more edit time perhaps, but you'll get the results from that.
Yeah. Well, and the idea that you can repurpose this content, I think is a really good point. That I think it was Dove deodorant did a lovely commercial where it was a proper full-blown advert of 30 odd seconds showing the person spraying the deodorant. I think they were in a club, or do you remember that, when we could go to clubs? But and then their bumper ads were them in the toilet just blowing the dryer underneath their armpits. And because they were only showing those bumper ads to people who'd seen their advertising already. And it just was a little 6-second snippet to remind you of the kind of quite comedy advert they had.
Yeah. And I think actually that type of content as well, I think, which is what I think in general TV advertising versus online, is that slightly more, either it's got to be a very emotional story, but that slightly more tongue-in-cheek, not worrying about being too serious, actually works really, really well. I think, TikTok, for example, the brands that are doing really, really well on TikTok, but they're the ones that they're taking the mick out of themselves slightly, but they're getting really great traction organically on there because they're doing that.
Yeah, no question. So you mentioned briefly there about ad sequencing. So you can control that, Becky. You can control the kind of which ads they see when, or
Yeah, you can just within the YouTube platform, you can say, okay, first of all, I want them to be showing this 30-second skippable advert, and then when they go on to watch the next video, I want them to be shown this advert, and then maybe the next one I want them to be shown this advert. So you could just do this like really interesting. You could do a broad, let's take the holiday client for example, a broad 30-second skippable advert about their holiday resort, you know, who are they, what they do, and then you could start them the bumper ad. And they say with bumper ads, try and make it more specific. Don't try and do everything because you've got 6 seconds. Focus on something. So you could then focus on, you know, perhaps that couple's holiday, that dog-friendly holiday, and you just like funnel them down. You can do lots of different. They could be really long, and it's working. Last 2 weeks I've been doing one, and it's working really, really well.
And that also stops fatigue, doesn't it? It stops seeing too much content.
Frequency is really important for that ad, you know, the ad uplift for people to remember you, but you don't want the people to see your ad too many times either. So yeah.
As a starting point, Joe, is there, I mean, do you always go out and shoot stuff? Do you upcycle stuff? Like what's this, if somebody decided they wanted to try a bit of YouTube advertising, what's that first step?
Yeah, so I guess it's 2 things. It's first of all, what existing content have they got? Because they might have existing videos where we can use that content and repurpose it. So, you know, there's not necessarily a need, especially if you're testing the ground with YouTube, for us to go and film something. And the other one that you can use a lot of is user generated content. So actually, again, brands shouldn't be afraid of having people that have made videos about their, you know, Instagram is full, especially we talk about the Cornish holiday example, of people having filmed everything they're doing on holiday. So see if you can use any of that content. We can repurpose that. I mean, client testimonials are the best type of testimonial, and they've made the video for you. Well, how can we put that together in something that works as an ad? The same applies, you know, influencers and things like that. You can get them to film content and send that in, so we can edit that into something. So, you know, it's not the case that we have to go out and film. You know, just editing, you can make ads. And again, even if we did film, it could be 6 months down the line. You want to, you know, you've got slightly different ad sequencing. You're targeting slightly different audiences. We can repurpose that. It can be slightly different tone. We can pace it differently. You know,
you can change the calls to, you can change the calls to action at the end.
You know, you can have the same content, and the call to action can be based more around the, you know, a seasonal thing. Easter, you know, if we've got springish content, it could be Easter, and then you could be doing something Christmassy. So, you know, the call to action can be changed really easily. So, you know, we always say, you know, we've made a video. It's not done. It's not over. It's not, here's the video, use it once. It's actually, this is an iterative process. We want you to keep using it, keep evolving it, and actually you can add to that footage as well, so that you can keep that existing footage, keep adding to it over time, and essentially build yourself up.
It's like a website.
Exactly.
Finished,
and it's like building your own stock library. You know, people always talk about stock video. Actually, that's another point. You can always, you know, if not filming, you can use stock videos. And actually, there's a lot of really, really good, high quality stock out there, in which, when used correctly, can actually have really, really good, you know, can look really good and not feel like it's terrible stock.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I must apologize. I thought builders stopped for lunch hours, but are clearly not. And there's some serious building going on here. But that's the joy from working in different locations, isn't it? Okay, so let's talk money. What is the average cost, Becky, for, you know, what? Let's talk the numbers behind it.
So YouTube say really £6 minimum a day. So it's you know, it's not huge numbers. You can start advertising from a small budget. But I will say is, don't turn it on for a few days and turn it off. And I'm bad at this. I like to see results quite quickly, but you have to be patient with the machine. So run your campaign for at least 2 weeks. So £6 a day, and run it for at least 2 weeks to, you know, to start seeing results. Don't start changing it. So you can start with really small budgets. If you have the small budgets, really, before you start, write down your objectives. You know, what do you want to achieve? And I think it's about being realistic. If you've got a small budget, you're not going to get hundreds of conversions. It's just the way it is. But brand awareness is really cheap on YouTube. You're talking like 1p to 3p for a view for someone to watch that ad. And as we said at the beginning, it's that omni-channel approach. You shouldn't be looking at your marketing channels and silos anymore. They all help each other. And, you know, every morning I'll watch a workout video on YouTube. Sometimes I don't do it, but I'll watch it. And I have seen like lots of, I've now followed lots of companies that have advertised to me that are relevant. And no, I haven't clicked through every time because I've gone on to watch a video. I haven't gone on to, go somewhere else, but I've remembered it and I've searched for them later on Google. And that's what you need to remember, is that it's that brand uplift. It's not what have you got directly from someone clicking on that advert. It's that whole kind of omni-channel approach. So yeah, budgets can be really small. It's just about being realistic with what you want to kind of get.
And that the content is quality. I mean, it does make a difference. It doesn't have to be televisual quality, but it has to be engaging enough to stop people. It's that I mean, we keep saying it, but it's the unskippableness.
Yeah. What's really interesting is a few months ago, we had a client, they had this professional video done, and we also had some videos that the influencer has done, and we tested, and the influencer created videos did really, really well. They were still high quality, but they did really well. So that's another thing. Test, like you might get it right straight away, but test with lots of different videos. It's all about testing and learning with these things.
Yeah, and so cost per views, if you were as the main metric, the main number you're looking at, how much it costs for a person to view 30 seconds of your video, what roughly are we talking about?
Yeah, so like a pen is like cost per views. We're seeing cost per views at the moment of like a penny to 3 pence. 3 pence. It's tiny. It's amazing. And if you correlate the watch time for the money, it just blows TV advertising out of the water. You can get hundreds of hours of watch time for not a lot of money. Yeah, so it's definitely.
And if you're super targeted, if you're a vegan skincare brand and you target people who are interested, that because that level of targeting is available in YouTube, isn't it?
Yeah.
So ultimately, if you can show to 20,000 people who look like they're interested in vegan skincare, that's got to be a win.
Yeah. And also you can just like social ads, you can upload your remarketing list, you can upload, customer match, you can upload your CRM database. So it's not just about prospecting. You can go after your existing audience and just remind them about you. And that's when the True View for Action works really well, is just going after those people that already know you and just pushing them over the line a little bit. So many audience options on YouTube.
So just to kind of bring everyone back, today we're talking about how to make the most from YouTube advertising. This is the first of what we're hoping will be a series of lives that we're going to try on different platforms, of how to make the most of YouTube and YouTube advertising. Joe, do you want to just do a very quick intro again for the people that have just joined us?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so my name is Joe. I run a video production company in Cornwall called Bullimore Film Co, and we specialize in making social-ready videos. So videos kind of fit for use online, whether that's advertising or organic.
Awesome. And Jay, I'm Jay. And we've got Becky as well from Launch Online. We're paid media managers for ambitious advertisers. And we're managing now an increasing amount of campaign budget on YouTube and getting some really good results. One of the things that I particularly like about YouTube advertising is the fact that you can look over, say, a 90-day window of how that person first comes to the advertiser, first comes to the website, and how YouTube can play a role in bringing those people through to conversion. It's called within the interface view through conversions, where they might not have converted straight from that YouTube video, but you know that they have consumed it at some point, and it then leads through to that conversion at the end. Are there any other points that you want to raise, guys? Any questions that you've got for each other, or any kind of stumbling blocks that advertisers you've found have had before?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest ones, working client side before, is that straight away someone mentions video advertising and you just think it's too expensive, and they think it's expensive on both sides. They think, one, it's expensive to advertise, and they think it's expensive to produce, but it really doesn't have to be. And I think the key is, instead of just going all guns blazing, really think about okay, what is it that you want to achieve? And I think you see a lot of advertisers go, well, I didn't get what I wanted, and they wanted purchases, but actually their videos were set up for awareness. And so before you start, I think it's really about writing down your goals, looking at the different options available to you, and starting from there. So
yeah, and I think I'd say, you know, that comes back to kind of, you know, we talk about TV style advertising, but I think too many people try and make TV style adverts and think about, you know, even if it's not obviously necessarily going to go on TV, but they think about that's how much it's going to cost. It's going to cost, you know, a few £1,000s because they're making that TV style advert. And that's just not the case. And I think, you know, there is an element of, there's upfront work often our end from a creative point of view about getting the pacing right, the tone, how, you know, what we're going to do. But actually, if we're not filming anything, editing is not hugely expensive. You know, our edit rate is like $350 a day. So a couple of, you know, 1 or 2 days of that up front, us doing some creative on it, working with guys like you as well about what's required, who we're targeting, using existing content. You know, that's not a huge expense. And once you've got that initial, you know, the initial kind of concept out there, it doesn't take a huge amount of time for us to make lots of different assets to tweak them so that they're targeting with different audiences. We've got one that's verticals. We've got one that you can also use on Facebook advertising, that you can also use on Instagram. So, you know, I think people need to, yeah, it's sometimes about thinking, actually, sometimes from a video point of view, it's not that you shouldn't be ambitious, but it's actually thinking, well, what can I do with the budget and the resources I've got, and not be afraid about approaching a video production company and saying, this is the budget I've got, what can you do with that, rather than thinking it's going to cost you thousands and thousands of pounds.
A well thought through campaign that, like you say, Becky, has got a very clear kind of objective, has got a great content hook, a great idea behind it, and a really targeted audience. I mean, we're talking, you could probably get traction for under £10,000, you know, maybe even £5,000. To me, though, it's worth a bigger upfront cost to be able to produce a whole selection of different styles of ads, because then you've got YouTube advertising, Instagram and Facebook. All of those things can work together. We can use them in display ads. You can use them on your website.
Exactly.
And, you know, from the work that we did with you, Joe, back in September, we got, I mean, not hours of content, but we got a whole selection, 12 different videos that we've been able to use in all different areas. But it's about having that good campaign idea at the start, I think.
Exactly. And, you know, that's a day of shooting, and you can make all those different assets, and we could still make more. So, you know, it's like you say, there might be an upfront cost if you don't want to do some filming, but actually it's then iterative after that around evolving it as you go.
Brilliant. Well, I am through with the questions that I've got. I think that was really interesting, guys. Thank you very much for your time, Joe and Becky.
Me. That's right.
I'd like to say to everyone watching this that if you DM us with your questions, we're going to start to do some deep dives into more specific details, how to optimize your channel, more specific information about the best creatives for YouTube ads. But for now, I just want to thank you for watching and say, you know, tune in next time.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.